on the flood narrative, and we're going to focus on where does the country of Egypt comes from. And Stalin, why are we doing that? Well, we're doing that because we're going to
On the
Egypt.
flood narrative.
My wife and I have the privilege of going to Egypt on May 1st to the 11th. You friends, if you don't have any plans, you friends are welcome to come and join us. We promise you, you're going to have the time of your life. Not because we're going to be there, but because Egypt is a fantastic country to go to. And Tom, feel free to open your mic and help me with that. Okay. Tell the friends you have been to Egypt
Certainly.
and why Egypt. Why Egypt is a country that you need to go to. Out of Greece, Italy, Spain, Jerusalem, uh, Jordan. Why do you need to go to Egypt?
You want me to answer or should I wait?
No, no, I want you to answer.
Being serious, because it's been 29 years since I've been there. It's the oldest city in the world that you can visit. I know Ur is older, but there's nothing there in Ur.
Exactly.
But visit and you'll actually see things that Moses saw because the pyramids were there.
Hmm.
The Nile River was there. And then all the stops on the boat that you're going to make when you get off to see the ruins, they were there. So you can't get anything older than Egypt.
Yep, indeed. And we're going to have our Bibles there. You're going to have your popular or known tour guides, the tour guides that you have loved to learn or deal with for the past 4 years. So it's going to be a fantastic trip. But instead of being behind a screen, we're going to be together with one another. So please, you can feel free to call me or call my wife or go to our website, My Global Tours, to talk about that. And June, have you been to one of our trips? Would you mind saying and telling the friends here how do we treat our guests? Hold on a second. She's figuring out how to unmute herself because it's hard. There's a button that says unmute. Hey, Caleb, I see you're here. June, there is a big button says the host. Well, there you go.
It took a man to do that for me. Thank you.
Qualified.
Right. Yes. I've only been on one of your tours, which was the tour of Madrid 23. I didn't want to come home. It was so lovely. Everybody, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe we were pampered so much.
She enjoyed it so much. That's all I've heard since. I think she's wanting to go to another one.
Oh,
I think she does.
I wish
Look who's here.
they all seem to overlap now. And I look at your stuff online, and I think, well, how can he be there when he's got to be there at the same time? But you have ways and means, I'm sure.
This is the sister who don't know how to unmute. Have you ever heard such a thing?
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you, June. And we miss you. We miss you too. And friends, what makes our company very, very different from any other travel company that you've been that you've been with, is that our company is family owned. You see, you have three guys and their wives. And on every trip, you're going to be traveling with one of us. You're going to be traveling with the owner. So there's no escalation. You're already talking to someone who's going to help you resolve any of the issues that may arise. So, and June can attest to this, or anybody who have been to our tour, when you're traveling with us, you are family. And that's why the trip feels so good. If you want to know about our Egypt experience, we would like to invite you to our YouTube channel. And right there, you have, wow, 10 videos recorded just about Egypt. 10 of them that will give you a snapshot of what we know about Egypt. If you're in New York, we can show you the Egyptian gallery at the map. And let me give you an example of what that feels like. Here we go. Hey there, museum lovers. Ever dreamt of traveling back in time to ancient Egypt? Well, buckle up because today we're diving into the Met's stunning collection of ancient Egyptian artifacts. The Met houses around 30,000 pieces of ancient Egyptian art. Yep, you heard that right, 30,000. These treasures date back as far as 300,000 BCE, stretching all the way to the 4th century CE. From elaborate tomb statues to intricate jewelry, every piece tells a story waiting to be discovered. The collection is a result of the Met's groundbreaking archaeological work in Egypt, which kicked off in 1906. For over 30 years, they uncovered a treasure trove of artifacts, sparking a wave of fascination with ancient Egyptian culture. Now picture yourself standing before an awe-inspiring statue of Pharaoh Hatshepsut, like Joseph or Moses did, or marveling at the craftsmanship of golden jewelry that the Israelites took with them. The Met's collection features everything from grand temple decorations to everyday items, giving you a glimpse into the daily life of ancient Egyptians or the descendant of Jacob. And if you're feeling a bit lost among the hieroglyphs, don't worry. We've trained tour guides ready to make your journey through history as smooth as a sand dune. Ha! These experts bring the past to life with fascinating anecdotes and insights that'll leave you wanting more. So, why not take a break from the usual and dive into a world of mummies, pharaohs, and ancient wonders? Head over to the Met and immerse yourself in one of the world's most impressive collections of Egyptian art. Trust me, it's an adventure you won't want to miss. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Please share this with friends and family for more museum gems. There you go. So if you're in New York, you know the stop. Once you visit Bethel, we'll take care of the rest. Friends, our trip to Egypt is on May 1st to the 11th. It's going to be a fantastic trip. And I think my wife tells me that there are only few stops left. And here's a video. We went there in November. We're going to go back now in February. Here's a short video of what you could expect on this trip. All righty, let's get started. You're here because you wanted to find out if Noah's Ark was found, was it discovered? What do you expect? What do you think? Yes, not, maybe? Well, in reality, it has all been a plot to distract you. You see, the study of finding Noah's Ark in the area of Turkey in the mountains of Ararat started in 1956. They claim that the area that you see there on the screen, let me put the laser so that you can see it, it was Noah's Ark. But in reality, it was just a marketing gimmick to get people to go to Turkey, to travel there. Obviously, that country have had its share of problems. Now it's open again for people to visit. We're going to go there in 2026. But the answer is, it's not has not been found. So don't believe the hype. The National Geographic states that we do not expect the Ark to have survived and be available to be found after 4,300 years, says a geology. It's just simply not possible. Of course, people will use it as a mechanism to draw attention, to draw tourism over there, but actually the answer is not. And to be honest with you, if the Ark or something related to the Ark would have been found, our organization would have shared that information with us, and they would have confirmed that the evidence that they found is truly, truly uh, true. Every museum has what they call a curator, and a curator makes sure that the information found at a certain location matches the accuracy of what is expected. These mountains have been X-ray, satellite image. You could imagine all the things. Different universities have gone there, and the same result is nothing has been found there. There are some theories that maybe the wood would have petrified, would have become rock, but not even that have been found as well. Well, why talk about Noah? Well, young people are going through a very difficult time today, especially when they cannot explain the event of the flood. Many people are questioning if the flood actually took place. We are here to provide you the evidence that this actually took place from a scientific point of view. Also, we're going to talk about the connection between Noah and Egypt. First and foremost, who was Noah? According to the Bible, he was the son of Lamech. He lived about 950 years, and he's number 10 on the line. The Bible in the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 9, said that Noah was a righteous man. But that's not enough. It says that he proved himself to be faultless among his contemporary. And we're going to talk a little bit about his contemporary. The name Noah actually means comfort. When his father had him, he said, "This one will bring us comfort." If you are the type that likes to study genealogy and trees and this other thing, feel free to take a picture of that genealogy tree that you see on the screen, and you can see that Noah, it's number 10 after Adam and Eve, which were the first. Number 10, and you can see the age that he lived. He lived almost as old as his grandfather Methuselah. Many people are saying, is that possible? Can people live that old? Well, the Bible says that God cannot lie. And if the Bible says it is as such, it is as such. There is a person, and I'm going to put this person, this information on the chat so that you guys can do your own research. But the Guinness Book of Record started tracking the age of certain people. And they record that there was somebody in France who lived 122 years. That is longer than anyone have ever known. Why was there a reason why we needed the flood? Well, Genesis provided an answer in Genesis chapter 6, verse 13. Because the earth was full of violence. Why was the earth full of violence? What was life like before the flood? Well, the Bible says that the sons of the true God started having relationship, intimacy with the daughters of men, and they produce the mighty ones of all time. They produce hybrids. Some Bibles translate this text as the sons of God were giants. The first book of Samuel, chapter 17, verse 4, talks about Goliath as being a giant. And according to our measurements, Goliath would have measured 9 feet and 6 inches. Shaquille O'Neal, which is a famous basketball player, he measures 7'1". And again, I went to the Guinness Book of Record and I found this guy, and I'm going to put his name so that you can look for him. I want you to double check everything I am sharing with you. His name is Robert Wallow, and he measured a whopping 8'11". Copy and paste. 8'11". So, since humans started tracking the measure, it is possible that this hybrid sons, according to Genesis 6:4, were really as big as the Bible reports them to be. This was unnatural. No wonder Jehovah God, the Creator, wants to put an end to this unfairness. So he talks to the faultless man, Noah, and he tells him, "You're going to build an ark." But what is an ark? That's the first question that Noah may have asked. And what is flood waters? Well, he probably have no idea what that meant. What did Noah needed to do? Well, Noah needed to know architecture. Get it? Architecture. Or maybe he got it from IKEA and assembled it there with the animals. But in reality, the word ark appears at least 3 different times, or has 3 different meanings in the Bible. The first one, obviously, is about Noah. The second time, it's about a baby that needs to survive, and that baby is in the country of Egypt, and that baby is Moses. And it's funny, today, if you go to a store to buy the object where you can put the baby, instead of calling it a basket, people are still calling it a Moses. And this was called an ark because the mother used waterproofing mechanism so that the basket can float. That's the second definition of ark. The last definition of ark is the Ark of the Covenant, and we are preparing a tour just about this magnificent object that the Israelites were the only one to have. It hasn't been found because Jehovah has decided that it should not be found, but we're going to learn what it meant to the Israelites and what we can learn from that. Moving on and talking about the ark, the measurements of the ark are really incredible. Not only the mere size of this object, but the fact that any boat that is built today, they use what is called the ratio of 6:1. And that's exactly what the ark used. They use a ratio of 6:1, and that architecture is being used today to build boats. When you look about the ark, Jehovah knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly the dimensions, and he did it in a way that even collecting all the species of insects and animal, there was still more room for humans if they wanted to roll with that. But how big was the ark, you may be asking? Because the measurements that I showed you earlier were in measurements that most people are not used to. Well, I taken the liberty of comparing the ark with a Boeing 747, which at one point was one of the largest plane in existence. It was primarily used for international flight. That little dot that you see on the left-hand side of your screen, that is a full-size adult elephant. So when you compare a full-size adult elephant to a 747, it's really small. But when you compare it to the Ark, it's even smaller. But the Ark does not laud itself as being the largest boat ever built. Because when you compare it to the Titanic, it's kind of small. When you compare it to the Enterprise, it's made out of wood. But what I can tell you is that that boat lasted 365 lunar days. It will be the equivalent of 370 days of our time. Made out of wood, and it lasted more than a year. And you may be asking yourself, well, Starling, that doesn't make sense. Are there any other famous boats that were made completely out of wood? Yes. Christopher Columbus used the Santa Maria when he left Spain to come to the Americas. The Wyoming was the last boat made out of wood. So there you have it. Noah's Ark was not only the only boat, famous boat made out of wood, others have been made out of wood using that. Another question that people may ask is, what is the shape? What is the size of the ark? Well, first and foremost, let's get some things clear. In United States, some of the artists have taken what is called artistic freedom or negligence, and they have done whatever they wanted with the instruction of the Bible. But if we follow the instruction of the Bible to the dot, this is what the ark may have looked like. If you didn't know, now you know how big the ark was. Who participated in the construction of the ark? Well, we don't need to guess. The answer is in the Bible. Genesis chapter 7, verse 7 to 9. We found very interesting information on those verses. Look at verse 7. Verse 7 says, Noah, along with his sons, he had three of them, his wife, and his son's wife. There you go. 8 people built this ark. According to some calculations, it must have taken them between 40 to 50 years to build the ark. Some people have speculated, how did they get all the animals into the boat? Well, they didn't have to do anything because verse 9 says it was Jehovah who commanded the animals to go to Moses, to Noah, not Noah to go out chase him. It would have taken a long time. Please pay attention to the first time in the Bible where it talks about clean animal and animals that are not clean. Okay, please pay attention to that because that will make sense later in the tour. So 8 people are building this gigantic structure and they have never done it before. Yes, they were closer to perfection, but it's still a lot of work. Talking about clean animals, one thing that may have served as a clue to Noah is the fact that Genesis chapter 7, verse 7 to 9, talks about take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animals. So the fact that there were 7 of one kind and 1 pair of the other made it very clear for Noah and his family which ones were clean and which one were not clean. Leviticus chapter 11 defines the difference between clean and unclean. But Noah came before Leviticus. We're not sure how Noah knew what was clean besides the number of animals. At any rate, where does the population of planet Earth come from? It's very simple. Noah has 3 sons that were the only survivors after the flood. They produce an offspring. And on this tour, I'm going to be focusing on Ham because he chose to go to Africa. Why? Jehovah said, multiply and fill the earth. And that's exactly what Noah's son did. Shem went to Asia, Japhet went to Europe, and Ham went to Africa. And one of the sons of Ham, his name is Mizraim. And guess what? Egypt, it's still called Mizraim today. So what is the connection of Noah and Egypt? Is his grandson Mizraim. We will talk about Nimrod later in the tour. That was another ungrateful great son. So right now in the tour, you know that there is a connection between Noah, Mizraim, and the origin of Egypt. So if we have a country of Egypt, it was because they were descendants of the flood. And I see that this picture is right on top of this, the letters here. Give me 1 second. That's not how I place them. Okay, we're gonna go back to the presentation. And we're gonna go back to sharing. So you guys already know this. This is very simple. You guys have already talked about this, but this is the part that I wanted to share with you. Any Egyptian, if you want a bridge between an Egyptian and the truth, you talk about Noah and you talk about Mizraim, and they know that, even though they deny that the Israelites were ever in Egypt. I'm giving you some early results of my investigation so that you can do more research yourself. The Hebrew word for Egypt is actually Mizraim, another proof that Noah's descendants were in Egypt or that the Israelites were ever there. Egyptian civilization developed along the Nile, which gives us an idea as to why Jehovah used the first plague to hit the Egyptians with that. As Tom mentioned at the beginning of the tour today, the Egyptian civilization is one of the oldest civilization in history. And we should say that it is the first Bible world power that was against Jehovah's people. And we see that in the 10th plague. Anyway, you can see now the significance. And once we are in Egypt, this lesson is going to go even deeper. I see someone putting in the chat saying the original Jews from the Middle East are still called Mizraim because Egypt name is Miz. Jesus was a Mizrahi Jew, not a Ashkenazi or Sephardic, which came later after the Jews left the Middle East. At any point, friends, Noah has a family. His sons help him build the ark, and his sons are the reason the earth is populated. How did the animals went inside? Here's a short video. Of course, that's a Hollywood version of the story. The Bible says that the animals simply just went into the ark. This next portion is just a theory of what the animals did once they were inside. Yes. Now people are talking about hibernation. They're talking about all the other stuff. We're not exactly sure what happened, but Jehovah God will always do what's best for his creation. When was Noah's flood? In the Bible, there are events that allow you to calculate time before and after certain dates. And one of those occasions is found on Genesis chapter 7, verse 11. Pay attention to this. And when you see this, you can actually see that something special is about to happen. And this happens also on Luke chapter 3, verse 1. First, you're given the year. Then you're given the month. Then you're given the day. Once you have those three elements, it's very easy for you to calculate what time in the Bible are we talking about? All right, because we can calculate the moon calendar, convert it to our calendar, and we can figure out the date. So right now, write it down. It is possible that the flood started or began at the end of October, beginning of November of the year 2370 before our common era. And we can use Genesis 7:11 to talk about that. Something that people ask is, Stalin, what does exactly means the spring waters of the vast watery deep and the floodgates of the heaven? It makes it sound like water was coming from two different locations. Let's watch this video and let's see if you agree with this conclusion. And friends, this is just a theory. We're not exactly sure how it happened. What we do know is that people did not have time to build something to escape what was coming. Jehovah knows best. Another question that people ask, especially non-believers, they ask, where did all that water go? If this actually took place, where did all that water go? Well, is the ice at the North and South Pole the water from the flood at the time of Noah? Why are people talking about global warming, rising sea level? We cannot say for sure, like dogmatically, that that water came from the flood, but we have two Bible texts that we would like to share with you. We're not going to read them. Please take a picture and have it as your personal study. Job 33:8. It talks about the power that Jehovah has to barricade water or to have water control in one central location. Psalms 104, verse 6 and 9. It talks about a boundary. Who sets that boundary? Only Jehovah can do that. There's an interesting personal study on the first chapter of the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 7, that talks about a ring of water surrounding the earth. I'm going to leave that to you so that you can do your own personal study. So some of the critics says, okay, yes, the earth was underwater, but this was only regional. This was not truly a global thing. What does the evidence says? Well, the evidence says that it rained for 40 days and 40 nights and then it rained for another 150 days. And when it says rain, now we understand that the water was coming from the top and the water was coming from the bottom. And this came so quickly because the Bible says overwhelming. So it was fast. The ark took from the floor very, very quickly. People did not get an opportunity to actually escape. Why can we be so sure that no one was able to escape? The text in Genesis is Genesis chapter 1, verse 6 and 7. It talks about a ring of water surrounding the earth. Why can we be so sure? Because Jehovah never does things twice. He does it once. He says that because of what was happening, everything needed to be wiped out. Take a look at this video. And this makes absolute sense because if water was coming from the heavens and water was coming from below, there was no time for people to escape. But you are a young person. Your parents have taught you about the Bible. You have seen the account about Noah and the flood. And some of your friends may not believe that this actually took place. Well, this tour is for you. Because right now, we're all going to talk about science. Remember, the Bible is not a scientific book, but what it does talk about is very accurate as far as science is concerned. One of the areas of science that the Bible agreed with is geology. You see, geology is the study of different layers of rocks. Throughout time, things are being trapped in land, in rocks, in sand. If you've been to Grand Canyon, to Utah, to Nevada, and other places in Europe, you are going to notice what they call the slicing cake or the different layers, the layer cake. If you take a picture of this and you research about this guy, Brett Carlton, you will notice that he won a Nobel Prize in science. And he doesn't say that the flood took place. What he says is whatever happened was so big that it cannot happen again. I repeat, and I'm going to quote exactly what he says, is there in blue, are extreme events with magnitude so large and devastating that they have not been observed scientifically and probably cannot be observed scientifically either. Whatever caused a certain amount of animals of the same kind to be trapped in the same period of time, and they're all drowning, or excuse me, dying of the same cause of death, that is not coincidence. That is not coincidence. And what's interesting, I mean, you like the Grand Canyon. I mean, the place is fantastic, but the amount of information in the Grand Canyon supports the theory that there was a flood. It disproved the theory of evolution because the animals that were trapped by region, not by species. So geology is a powerful, powerful non-religious science that you can use for that. Take a look at this. What you're seeing on the screen have been animals that have been discovered, animals that have been drowned. And I'm not talking about one, two, or three. I'm talking about an entire species being wiped out. We're talking about finding animals that usually are in the sea, but you're finding them on top of the mountain in the Grand Canyon. This elephant that you see there on the screen have grass on his mouth. And based on the experts, they all die out of drowning. So how can so many animals, so many species, the same species, large number of them die at the same time? It was like a mass destruction. How can that happen? What the other TV shows or organizations says about the flood?
In the year 2000, when two geologists from Columbia University named Walter Pittman and William Ryan began a study of core samples taken from beneath the Black Sea. Shockingly, they discovered that dozens of feet below the current sea floor was a layer of mud typically found in river deltas, and within this layer, shells of mollusks which are found in freshwater. This suggested that at some point in the past, the Black Sea was not the saltwater body it is today, but a freshwater lake which supported an area of rich farmland. Armed with this information and other geological evidence from the region collected by previous studies, Pittman and Ryan began to construct an incredible theory on what had happened. Sometime in the past, they proclaimed, the Black Sea had been a freshwater lake separated from the saltwater Mediterranean Sea by a strip of land known as the Bosporus Strait. At the end of the last ice age, approximately 10,000 years ago, when the ice sheets in the northern hemisphere began to melt and global water levels began to rise, the water level in the Mediterranean Sea rose so much that it broke through the Bosporus Strait, flooding the Black Sea area below. Without warning, water would have begun pouring through the breach with more than 200 times the force of Niagara Falls. In a single day, enough water would have entered the Black Sea Basin to cover an area the size of Manhattan to a depth of more than 3,000 feet. Within a year, some 60,000 square miles of land would have disappeared underwater.
And that's not all. This guy that you see on the screen, he's very famous because he provided evidence of Noah's biblical flood. Who is he? Robert Dwayne Ballard. Not only is he a retired United States Navy officer, a professor of oceanography at the University of Rhode Island, but he's also famous for his underwater archaeology marine work. What did he do? What did he find? Let's take a look at the video.
This staggering theory immediately caught the attention of the world's most famous marine scientist, Robert Ballard. Ballard had been the man to track down the sunken remains of the Titanic in 1985, as well as numerous other lost wrecks around the world. With Pittman and Ryan's research in hand, Ballard traveled to the Black Sea to study the theory further. He and his team began to map the landscape of the sea floor with a sonar scanner mounted to a ship. In short order, they found something which stunned them more than 300 feet below the surface. There on the sea floor were the remains of an ancient building. Exploring further, the team noted the remnants of stone tools and ceramics scattered throughout the surrounding area. What this meant was clear. In the words of Robert Ballard, what we are looking at is a culture that is definitely thousands of years old. For us to find a structure in 150 meters of water means that these people were definitely living there before it flooded. But they did not stop there. Going further, they conducted carbon dating on the shells of the freshwater mollusks previously noted by Pittman and Ryan, as well as the shells of saltwater mollusks found in the layers of the seafloor above. Incredibly, they found that not only were the freshwater mollusks universally older than the saltwater ones, but that all of the freshwater mollusks were the same age, meaning they had died at the same time. For Ballard, this proved that they had died as a result of a sudden flood, since if they had died slowly due to gradually rising water, their ages would have been different. For the first time, definitive proof had emerged of a flood in the Black Sea region, one which certainly could have formed the foundation of the biblical story of Noah's Ark.
Anyway, We believe what we believe because the Bible says it, but isn't it nice to have secular information that supports what we know? You see, the flood, it is something that 260 countries minimum have a legend about it. And we know what legends are, right? Legends are stories that have been exaggerated, but legend can also mean legendary, meaning that what happened was so big that many people talk about it for a long time. How did people around the earth, how did they all know or have heard of about the flood even before the Bible became the most distributed book on the planet? Here's a theory.
Many scientists insisted that there was one crucial inconsistency. While this evidence showed a regional flood, it did not provide evidence for the global flood described in the Bible, where, as Genesis states, the waters rose greatly on the earth, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. The thing is, the Bible is not the only place that a global flood story appears. In fact, within cultures all over the world and all across history, a similar story exists. From the civilizations of ancient Mesopotamia, Greece, and Rome, to the ancient Aztecs, Mayans, and Incans of Central and South America, to India and China, Native American tribes, and Australian Aboriginals. What is the most astonishing is that not only do all of these cultures have a flood story, but in nearly every one, the story tells of a singular figure, like Noah, and his family surviving the flood, almost always on a boat. Interestingly, in the years since Ballard, Pittman, and Ryan showed that a cataclysmic flood had taken place in the Black Sea region, similar evidence has started to emerge from locales around the world, in places where these similar global flood myths have long existed. In 2016, researchers in China discovered evidence of a catastrophic flood that raised water levels some 800 feet in the Yellow River Valley many thousands of years ago, seeming to confirm the historical basis of China's flood myth with its own Noah-like figure, Emperor Yu. In 2020, evidence emerged of a massive flood in the Central Andean Plateau in South America, where the Incas once spoke of a family who survived a global flood sometime deep in the past. In 2023, researchers in India announced they had confirmed the ancient Hindu myth in which a figure named Manu survives a global flood by uncovering evidence of a flood so great that it led to the disappearance of the Saraswati River thousands of years ago. It seems like almost every year, new evidence emerges which seems to confirm the global flood story.
There you go. But we don't need that evidence, right? We want to believe what's in the Bible. But this secular evidence allows us to build a bridge between us and them. The Bible has a very clear instruction: multiply and fill the earth. And that's exactly what Noah's sons did. Here's a picture of an illustration of what Genesis chapter 10 looks like. Here is another graph with a specific Bible verses that you can have for your own personal study. The one that tells you how many kids did they have, where did they live, and so on and so forward, providing the evidence that what the Bible says is absolutely true. So, what else can we use? We can use the museum, reputable museum like the British Museum. This museum has something so amazing that is worth reading word by word. Check this out. It's called the Epic of Gilgamesh. It was found in Babylon in the 7th century BCE, and it talks about a flood. It talks about that in order to survive that flood, you need to build a boat. You also need to bring the animals and birds into the boat. It's going to rain so much that it's going to erase humanity from the planet. Once the storm passes, you're going to release a bird, and once you release it again, the bird is not going to come back. And it's funny, this tablet talks about a bird, but it also talks about a raven. Amazing. That tablet is at the British Museum, and it was translated by this person, George Smith. And I want you to actually think about that or make this a matter of your own personal research. What is the point of all this? Well, it says that this was found in Babylon. Where is Babylon? Iraq. Where is Iraq? Iraq is where the Tower of Babel or the Tower of Babylon was being built. Do I have proof of that? Yes. Josephus, a trusted Jewish historian, wrote that Nimrod had gradually turned the government into a tyranny, seeing that the only way to remove the fear of God was to actually make them more unreliable on them. He accused God of drowning or trying to drown the world again. And he, Nimrod, one of Noah's great grandson, he says, I'm going to save the world by building a tower so high that the waters will never reach it. And by the way, I will seek revenge for the annihilation of all of my ancestors. So think about this, whether you agree or not. Think about this. On the planet, there are two people talking about two different stories. Noah is saying, multiply and fill the earth. Nimrod is saying, multiply and stay right here. Help me build this tower so that we are no longer destroyed by a flood. No one is saying Jehovah's not going to destroy the earth again. That's why we have the rainbow. We don't believe it. So was it regional or was it global? What do they have in common? Take a look at the screen. Babylon is part of Iraq. Iraq is a city that sits between two rivers, the Euphrates and the Tigris River. So experts are saying that Western religious tradition, both Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, can be traced to a complex of evolving array of religious ideas that were founded in Asian Mesopotamia as far back as 3000 BCE. Exactly the same area where the tower was being built, exactly the same area where the tablet of Gilgamesh was found. But my young person, if somebody asks you for evidence about the flood, the Bible is the best evidence that the flood actually took place. You have several writers that have written about the flood. But the one that wrote the most about the flood was Peter. Question for the audience. Where did Peter spend his last day alive? Question for the audience. Where did Peter spend his last day alive? Lynn or Tamara?
Yeah, that was in Babylon.
In Babylon. Coincidence? I don't think so. Peter was the one that talked the most about the flood. And it's not a surprise that the Epic of Gilgamesh tablet was also found on Babylon. But young person, the biggest evidence that the flood took place is that those who believe in Jesus should also believe that the flood took place. Because Jesus himself, the Son of God, wrote about the flood. There is no bigger evidence than that anywhere else. So, It stopped raining. And since it stopped raining, the water had to evaporate. The Bible tells us that in Genesis chapter 8, verse 4, in the seventh month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark came to rest on the mountain of Ararat. And the mountain of Ararat are in Turkey. I show you that yesterday at the beginning of the tour. The geological formation located in this district has been a potential site since 1956. However, the team of Istanbul Technical University, Andrew University, Ibrahim University have been working on the site for nearly decades, and they haven't been able to find anything. It is not possible to say that the ship is here with this dating. It is not possible. So Noah's Ark has not been found. The Bible contains information that the Epic of Gilgamesh confirmed. Yes, there was a raven and it was sent out, and the animal has a stamina like no other animal. It was later that the animal will be declared unclean because of the nature of what it eats. The next animal that Noah will use, it will be a dove. And he will do this several times. Several times. Even when the dove returned with a plucked olive leaf, Noah will send it one more time. So you can say that Noah sent a bird 4 times. 3 were dove and 1 was a raven. So the Epic of Gilgamesh got their resources correct. Because of the calculation we did earlier, we are able to calculate how long was Noah in the ark. And we can come to the conclusion that it was 12 months according to our calendar, 370 days according to our calendar. So that's how we know how long Noah was in the ark. If we jump to the area of what Noah did when he came out, that to me is really impressive, because the only time the word altar was mentioned, it was at the time of Abel. So how did Noah know about an altar? How do he know about a clean animal? I'm going to leave it up to you. I want you to take a picture of this diagram. These are the 30 verses in the Bible that talks about altar. And you're going to see its connection. It's a fascinating, fascinating personal study. At any rate, Jehovah promised that he's not going to destroy the earth with water again. And he puts a rainbow in the cloud as a sign that he's not going to do that. And we still have the rainbow today. We see it and we are amazed by the rainbow. But young person, please pay attention to this. There is an organization that has their flag that looks like a rainbow. But if you pay attention, their flag only has 6 colors, which in the Bible means imperfection. Jehovah's rainbow has 7 colors, which means perfection, complete. Don't be fooled by all the news about equality. Yes, all men were created equal, but Jehovah also created a male and a female. There are people like Nimrod who will be in opposition to Jehovah, lying and saying all sorts of things that may look cool, that may look appealing, but it's all a mirage. It's all a lie. Believe it or not, we share the same situation as Noah's family. We know where the truth comes from, and we know where the opposition comes from, that rebellions come from. And friend, if you want to learn more about this, feel free to take a tour. It's completely free. A pronouncement against Babylon. We go all out on Nimrod, all out on Nimrod, and we reveal who he truly was. An enemy, the first enemy on the Bible. Someone is asking me to put the rainbow again. There you have it. And all of this, friends, comes from personal study, observation, meditation. Nothing is new. Nothing is new. Imagine a day, very, very soon, where everything is in the past. Imagine being surrounded by only people who worship Jehovah, having the earth all for ourselves. The Bible says in the first letter from Peter, chapter 3, verse 14 and 16, verse 14 says, "But even if you should suffer for the sake of righteousness, you are happy. However, do not fear what they fear, nor be disturbed, but sanctify the Christ as Lord in your heart, always ready to make a defense before everyone who demands of you a reason for the hope you have. But remember, you want to do this with a mild temper and deep respect, maintaining a good conscience, so that in whatever you are spoken against, those who speak against you may be put to shame because of your good conduct as followers of Christ." By faith, Noah, after receiving divine warnings of the things not yet seen, showed godly fear and constructed an ark for the saving of his household. And through his faith, he condemned the world, and he became a heir of the righteousness that results from faith. Noah, a man of faith, a study story of obedience and survival. On behalf of my wife, the entire team, we say thank you to the over 400 connections that were together today. It is because of people like you that we continue to prepare tours, we continue to investigate. If you want to show your appreciation for the quality of research, the quality of the presentation, feel free to buy yourself a coffee and buy myself a coffee, and we can have coffee together. Some people have taken the time to create little greeting cards and they send it to the house. Very encouraging. Or some friends can use the tools that you see there on the screen. This tour is going to be available on our YouTube channel and also on our website, completely free, so that you can watch it and rewatch it and rewatch it so that you can enjoy it with your family and friends. Friends, I have my meeting day today, and as opposed to the other times where I can stay, today I'm going to say goodbye. I'll see you later. You will not see tours for me in the month of February because I'm traveling to New York. But I'm going to be releasing new videos and I'm going to be sharing the product of my investigation with you through social media, through our YouTube channel, and also through email. And I am preparing a fascinating tour. Can you think about this? You have seen the 10 plagues. It was the first tour we started more than 5 years ago, or almost 5 years ago. Yeah, we started in March of 2020. Guess what? I am re-releasing that tour, but now I'm going to tell the story from Joseph's point of view. And then I'm going to tell the same story and I'm going to tell it from an Egyptian point of view. One of those Egyptians that left in the mixed company. I am so excited that I'm going to invite some of you to be part of the beta testing to see if that come across very well. But I am super excited to tell the same story, but now from two different point of views based on the research that we have done. If you think you know the 10 plays, I ask you to think it again. See you guys later. Would love
Bye,
to hear
Solon.
more. Thank you, Tom. And
All
we'll see
right.
you soon on
Talk to
another
you later.
episode of my virtual Bible tour presents. Baby, you want to say goodbye to the friends?
See you, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you for the support.
Bye.